We all know what it feels like when life gets busy. Early meetings, late nights, constant deadlines, and nutrition is often the first thing to slip down the priority list. But what we eat and when we eat it has got a huge impact on our energy, our focus, mood, and overall well-being. And the good news is that healthy eating doesn't have to mean perfection, expensive ingredients, or hours in the kitchen. Often it's just small, realistic changes that can make the biggest difference. One thing people often underestimate is the connection between sleep and appetite. If you've had a bad night's sleep, you're noticing probably the next day that you crave more sugary foods or quick snacks. And that's because poor sleep affects the hormones that regulate hunger and fullness. So one of the simplest health habits is protecting your sleep routine. Try to keep caffeine earlier on in the day and avoid getting overly hungry late at night. Aim for some consistency with bedtime where possible. Another really helpful strategy is one called front-loading your fuel. In other words, start the day well. A protein-rich breakfast and balanced lunch can help prevent that mid-afternoon slump when you suddenly want sugar, coffee, or both. Think of your blood sugar like a fuel gauge. When it stays steady, you feel more energized, focused, and calm. But when it spikes and crashes, often after sugary snacks or refined carbs on their own, you're much more likely to feel tired, irritable, and foggy. The key isn't restriction, but it is balance. So instead of plain toast, add eggs or nut butter. Pair fruit with nuts or yogurt. Choose whole grains where you can. Small changes like that can really help release energy more slowly and steadily. There's also a growing amount of research looking at the connection between mood and food. Healthy dietary patterns with more fruit, vegetables, whole grains, and oily fish are associated with better mental well-being, while diets high in ultra-processed foods are linked with poorer mental health outcomes. And one of the most fascinating of areas right now is the gut-brain axis, this constant communication between the gut and the brain. In fact, around 90% of your serotonin, one of your key feel-good chemicals, is produced in the gut. Your gut is also home to trillions of bacteria known as the gut microbiome, and these microbes appear to influence everything from inflammation to immunity to stress responses and mood regulation. We're still learning a lot more about this area, but what we do know is that fiber-rich foods help feed those beneficial gut bacteria. So foods like beans, lentils, oats, vegetables, whole grains, all fantastic for the gut health. Fermented foods like yogurt, kefir, kimchi, kombucha can also help support a healthy microbiome. And rather than obsessing over perfect eating, many experts now encourage people just to focus on variety. You may have heard about aiming for 30 different plant foods a week. That includes not just fruit and vegetables, but also things like nuts, seeds, herbs, spices, beans, whole grains, and even dark chocolate. A really simple way of approaching this is to eat the rainbow. Include different coloured plant foods across your week because different colours contain different beneficial nutrients and plant compounds. Even small additions count. So a bowl of porridge with berries and seeds might give you several plant points before the day has even started. Hydration is another area we often overlook. Even mild dehydration can affect concentration, energy, headaches, and mood. And many people end up mistaking this for stress or exhaustion. Most adults should aim for around 6 to 8 glasses of fluid a day, though that can vary. And tea and coffee still count towards hydration despite the myths, but water remains the best option. One simple habit I often recommend is just drinking a big glass of water first thing in the morning, as well as carrying a reusable water bottle throughout the day. And finally, healthy eating does not need to be expensive. Some of the most nutritious foods are also some of the cheapest. Think oats, eggs, lentils, frozen vegetables, bananas, tinned fish. These are all brilliant staples. Healthy eating doesn't require complicated recipes or expensive superfoods. It's really about building a few sustainable habits that fit into real life. So rather than trying to overhaul everything overnight, just choose 1 or 2 changes that feel realistic to you. Because when it comes to nutrition, consistency matters far more than perfection.